Hey, everybody, welcome to the next episode of Future First, the B2B Marketing Podcast, where we dive deep into the stories behind today's most impactful leaders and innovators. Today, I'm thrilled to be joined by Margaret Sikora, the dynamic CEO of Woodpecker, a Poland-based SaaS powerhouse revolutionizing outreach. Margaret's journey is nothing short of inspiring, starting out as a junior supporter and then rising up to lead a company of 74 people. Her passion is for SaaS and fuels Woodpecker's mission to scale outbound efforts effectively and make sure that your message gets delivered. Margaret, thank you very much for joining us on the podcast today.
Thanks for this invitation. It's amazing to be here.
Brilliant. So what a really amazing story. So you started out in Woodpecker as junior support, if that's correct, and now you're the CEO. So tell us about that journey over the years.
Yeah, that was a long and wild ride. I joined almost 9 years ago. When I think about it, that's just like a crazy timeline, but it's been 9 years. And I was just basically looking for some new challenge for myself because by education I'm a lawyer. And I accidentally came across Woodpecker. So I started like, okay, let's give it a try. Let's see how it works. I started to work as a junior supporter and I just loved the industry. Just, the challenge of whole outbound sending, sales, everything that was there was just awesome. And gradually I changed my position. So I was with success team then and with product team. Then I was chief operations officer. And this year I became CEO, which I'm very proud of. And that's an amazing team to lead. So I'm super happy to be here.
Brilliant, great. I mean, you've obviously seen all parts of the business, right? So you're in support role and then also COO, so the operations side, but then with CEO comes leadership. I mean, how have you dealt with the challenges of leadership?
Well, there are a few things to that. So first of all, if you know your organization very well, it becomes more natural for you to lead people because you understand like how their day-to-day work looks like. Because I think like this is one of the biggest challenges if you're a leader and you have no idea what your people are doing. So like what are their challenges? You don't understand the like basic things that are out there to overcome. So that's one thing. The other thing, I always felt like it's very natural for me to find myself and like working under pressure and this like, let's say, very obvious stuff that you have in a leadership positions. So that was a nice combination. But I feel like, the kind of, it sounds a bit cheesy, but that's true. The thing that ultimately motivates me is that, Woodpecker is made to help small and medium businesses to become stable, to just, stay away from external financing, being dependent on someone, to just generate revenue. And that in terms of like how I feel about that sounds incredibly motivating and just almost like noble thing to get done because you help businesses to become stable. And that's awesome because, those people are struggling with like getting predictable revenue and all stuffs that are around that. And you can just come in, give something that works and help them to push, a bit further with their businesses. And I just think it's awesome to do. So I'm really motivated to just, drive the product and marketing teams forward to just find those people that we can help.
Brilliant. That's a really nice story. And outbound is really important to business, right? And I think we've seen an acceleration of outbound as the markets have changed, right? There's less VC money around the last few years. Companies still need to grow, but they need to do that in a smart way where maybe they're not splashing out loads of cash. So do you see a trend that companies are trying to adopt outbound more and more and more?
For sure. I mean, looking at how the market operates right now, even in terms of like general acquisition, stuff like Google Ads or organic traffic are now becoming easier. And from obvious reasons, like when you want to know how to do something, you most likely will ask ChatGPT, not Google it. So, the tendencies of how you work with stuff changes a lot. And this is progress. You can't stop it. So you need to figure out other ways. So this is one angle. And the other angle is that the overall content becomes more crowded because it's easier to generate content right now. So all of us, we are looking for something that will help us to get stable revenue and, predict what will happen, to rely on something. And Outbound is perfect to that because you can start very low. So it's cheap in terms of like testing something. You can learn that in iterations. So like, for example, if you know nothing about Google Ads, it's very difficult to start and to bring any type of result. If you want to start with cold emailing, you can start pretty low and just see what works and then adjust and scale up. And it doesn't require just, a huge jump in terms of competences. So I feel like companies are coming back to outbound, like classic outbound, meaning cold emails, because it's effective and it's available. So you can like physically start tomorrow. You don't have to do like massive prep work. Of course, you will have to learn a lot of stuff, which is absolutely a different angle, but it's not so overwhelming to start because, at the end of the day, it's just sending emails. So you can really think through the process and scale it up.
Yeah, brilliant. And then, interestingly, I think it was in February of this year that the rules for cold outbound changed, and those rules were kind of dictated by two big players in the market, is Google and Yahoo. Did I get that right?
Well, Microsoft as well.
Microsoft as well. Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
good. So, sending out emails is effective, but sometimes it could be tricky to do, right? Because you're going to end up in spam box. People think you're a spammer or whatever. What are the basics to get right for people who've never done it before?
So first of all, there are a few technical things to know. There's such a beautiful thing as deliverability. And as you start approaching sending cold emails, you need to become aware of that because this is like the golden rule for all senders. So you need to take care of your deliverability. It needs to be healthy. And what it is, this is a set of technical rules and semi-technical that defines if your message will be delivered to the main inbox or to spam folder, aka the email hell, because no one will ever read it and it would just be there lonely. So we don't want that. And like providers as Google or Microsoft or Yahoo or whoever else is there, basically what they try to get, as at least in my opinion, as a final result, is to get content that is relevant for their customers in the main inbox. Because like if I would be a product manager of Google's inbox, right, and I need to create the product in a way that my customers are happy with it, what I would do, I would try to select a set of norms and regulations and rules that will make only important content out there. So we used to think about this as a very bad thing, but on the other hand, it's what gets the best in the game in the right place that they deserve. And of course, it may be a little bit challenging, but it's not bad if you think from a very humane perspective. So just keep relevancy as a golden rule and you'll start getting to the main inbox.
Very good. Yeah. So I want to dive into that more because, we've seen it time and again, and I think people have been on the receiving end of it as well, is getting put in an email list. And some people think, I've got this lead, or a contact, I'm going to put it in an email list and I'm going to send thousands of emails and hopefully one of them will stick. Right? That is what a lot of companies do, but it's getting harder and harder for them to do that, which is justified, right? Because that's what I love to call the spray and pray approach, and I've seen it time and time again. How can people be really relevant? What hooks should they be writing into their outbound?
So first of all, I think that we need to measure between personalization and relevancy because we used to talk a lot about like your outbound need to be personalized. But right now the question for me is like how you can build properly your ICP because I don't think you need any personalization if you can write content that is relevant to your audience. Usually your audience would be very small, but that what makes the message relevant. So, I also I see people doing spray and pray approach from time to time. It rarely works right now because it's optimistic. But if that works for your business, I mean, go for it. And it's like, if it works, then it works. But when you see it's not working, what I would do is try to really think like from perspective of your addressees to whom you're reaching out and why you're reaching out to those people. And I know that this sounds extremely obvious, but when you think about it like inside your head, if you're targeting like CTOs from, I don't know, Germany, and you have a solution that is dedicated for a particular narrow technological scope, you should refer to that. I mean, they will not care about you referring to them as CTOs or whatever else. They care just about the solution of particular problems. So it's like, it's not about just, knowing their LinkedIn profile or name or anything like that. It's just, if you have something that can help me build business, and if you have it, they'll be interested. If you don't, like, you're wasting your time anyway. So this concept of hyper personalized small ICPs really helps to get effects. And on the good side, there's a lot of tech stack that helps you do it right now. So 5 years ago, you've been mostly on your own in terms of skill set to build, like lists and ICP and all stuffs around that. Right now, there's like a ton of technology that can help you do it. So it's just a matter of just changing the perspective when you think about outbound.
Yeah, great. And I like that as well because, I think there's seen some emails go by like, oh, you are the founder of, Salesforce, or you're the CTO of this company. And then it's like some weird things I've seen, like, do you enjoy your job? And I'm like, well, I'm the founder, one of the co-founders, and that's a really weird question to ask.
Yeah.
So there's a risk involved there. But if someone indeed did come to me and say, you work in the marketing industry, would you be interested in receiving a report like this? Because there's a few rules, right? I know the rules, you know the rules, but there are a few rules. Things like you want to get them to reply. I think that's the golden metric, would you say? Yeah. And what other things should you be doing and should you not do?
So ultimately, the first thing to do is not to make them angry, because I like to start very low, but that's actually important because, for example, if you set up a campaign with 10 follow-ups, you have pretty big chances that at the level of fourth, you'll get at least half of your list really unhappy with your continuous communication. So first thing is not get your prospect angry. Second is deliver value. So like if you ask someone to give the time to read the email and think about replying, there needs to be something clear. The first thing I would say is not to put too many question marks, because most likely you're reaching out to people who are quite busy. So if you ask them to figure out what you actually want, and there are more than one CTA, question mark, do you want this or that? And now I don't know which part should I answer first. That's a no-go, because it's too much processing power to reply to you. And I would say follow-up is a good thing, but not to overdo it. So if you just send one email, well, that's a missed opportunity out there. So 2 to 3 follow-ups, it's max from my perspective, and do it. And also try to avoid this passive aggressive, I see that my message is not relevant right now. So, making people feel guilty that they do not reply to you. So for example, what I personally like to do is to add extra value in follow-ups. So just it becomes more relevant for the person and not push someone to just, answer.
Right. And then when you get, I like the idea about the follow-ups. It does make sense, because if you make them angry, if you piss them off, then they're going to hit that spam button, aren't they? And then that's really what you don't want. Then you end up in what you would call outbound hell. I think you called it earlier on. Nice. And what about things like sending links and documentation and stuff? Because I know some people would they'd love to send a PDF. I want to send this to them. They're going to read that. And I'm like, I'm not sure about that. But what are the guidance and the rules on sending out documentation?
Well, it feels like, at least to me, if you will just meet the person and the person will hand you over an envelope that is sealed and will say open it up later, it will feel a bit weird, at least to me. So it's the same with attachments and sending PDFs and too much stuff. You are basically distracting the person from your main content to go somewhere else, check it out, and you trust that the person will be motivated enough to come back to this email and hit a reply. And the person don't know what is there at the stage that looking at the email. So it's a bit sealed envelope. No one knows what is inside, if this is something you want to see or something that not necessarily you want to see. So I would say in case of classic cold emailing, so you send to people that you don't have relation with. So you just physically do cold outreach, not to your customers or former customers. I would say links and attachments are risky, and I would not use it in the first email. For me, it's later on in the funnel when you get some relation with someone and the person trusts you a bit, to include it there. Plus, in terms of deliverability, it's heavy to have it. So any link or any attachment or anything that you add on the top of your email is an extra weight. And I would say right now, sending plain text messages is the safest option because you want to deliver like the value in terms of merits so that what you read is valuable to the person, not in terms of how it looks like.
Right. Okay. Very good. And what about this thing of spam words? Is that even relevant anymore? Because I saw in the past that you could get a spam word checker and there's certain words you shouldn't be using. Is that even relevant?
Future First is sponsored by SalesSource, B2B pipeline management and sales growth for your business.
Well, spam words are still on, so there are spam filters that rely on spam words. But as the technology grows and, AI is almost everywhere, it becomes more and more sophisticated. So it's not the only layer. Of course, if you use words like, I don't know, revenue, margin, profit, wherever that is around that type of words, it's not helping. But I would say what is more important is like how your copy vary, how long you use particular content. Do you remember that if you send follow-ups, you quote your opening email in every follow-up? So effectively, if you have 2 follow-ups, you have sent your opening message to get analyzed by spam filters 3 times already, not 1. So you shouldn't use the same copy for too long, and you should use spin tags and all stuffs that are around that. This is more relevant than just spam words. Of course, it's not a good practice to have those, but it's not like you don't use spam words equals you are on the safe side.
Right. Very good. Very, very interesting. These are great tips, and we'll definitely summarize these in the show notes at the end. Let's talk about Woodpecker as a company and talk about B2B marketing that you guys do, right? Because I'm sure you don't only rely on cold outreach. I'm sure you guys are very good at it for yourself. But what other things do you love to do in terms of B2B marketing to grow your network?
So for us, one of the big things is partner program. So basically, we believe that our customers, especially agency customers who are serving for like their customers, those are the best sources of leads, and we trust like their perception of the market. So usually what we get from them is very reliable. And that's why we have partner program with 20% revenue share. So this is one channel. Of course, we do like all classic forms in terms of paid ads. We do content. So we have a blog post and we publish there a lot still because it's valuable for some of our current users and for the audience overall. And we right now start to activate more on LinkedIn because this is like the top brand awareness thing. I also personally post a lot there. So if someone is interested, highly invite you to just go and check it out. And those are like channels that we test. We also invest a lot on YouTube. So our, let's say, main approach is education. And every channel that delivers the information how to do the best cold outreach possible is a good one for us.
Great. I'm really curious about your partner program. Would you be able to tell us how many companies are in that partner program?
So we have a couple of hundred. It vary, of course, month to month. Yeah, but we have partners that we have been working with for like a couple of years.
Yeah.
So we also get good understanding of how their challenges change over time.
Yeah, great. I mean, partner programs are really successful, but they do require a hell of a lot of work, right? You need to really invest in them.
Well, I think you need to build trust because, of course, there will be like, competitors, there will be distractions on the market, everything that is out there. But with partner program, the beauty of that is you have this human to human relation. So you can get feedback from them, you can listen to what they need. And the best what is out there, if your partner program shrinks, you get the understanding that something is really changing on the market, either with a product perspective or with like overall dynamics. So it's just great to have these partners that are, honest with you and will tell you the truth, even if you don't want to hear it. But that's one of the best things we have actually in terms of relation building. So I'm really proud of our partner program. It's a cool thing to have.
Really good. And then LinkedIn, of course. I mean, that's how I found you, Margaret, right?
Yeah,
you posted on
true.
LinkedIn and I was like, that's a cool post. Invite to the podcast. That's how it works, right? How often do you post on LinkedIn?
I'm trying to post 3 times a week. And it can be overwhelming, especially at the beginning. But I mean, it's awesome also to see how the community changes and how much insight you get from other people around. So I'm very happy to be there.
And have you noticed the trick of posting faces on LinkedIn in your posts? Have you noticed that one yet?
Yeah, so like not to be anonymous and to like
Yeah.
your own brand. Yeah.
I think the LinkedIn algorithm is just looking if there's a face in the picture, and if it recognizes that there's a face in the picture, that's the first step, right? It's a little bit like email deliverability. First step is, make sure you've got your domains warmed up. You got good quality emails, blah, blah, blah. It's a LinkedIn. First step is there a face in the post? Yeah, good. And then obviously no link in there as well. Cool. Let's move on and let's talk about the fact that you are female CEO in Poland, which, let's be honest, right? It can be a bit of a traditional market at times. I know times are changing, but let's be honest. Most people in senior positions are, tend to be men. And you're trailblazing there and leading as a woman. Now, some people think, oh my God, like, do we have to talk about this sort of stuff? But I think it's really important, right? Have you could be honest with me and say, I don't want to talk about this, or you can say, yeah, I want to share some experiences. Have you had any like really positive experiences in your position now because of it, because of the things that you've done?
Actually, I was pretty stressed out at the beginning, so I had a lot of thoughts like how people would perceive me and would it be a problem because like of all stuff that you have said. But either I was lucky or things are changing or I'm extremely ignorant, which is also a possibility here. But I was quite welcomed by people around me, and like overall, my team is the most supporting team that I could imagine. So internally, this is just amazing. I was a bit afraid of like external perception, but I, well, I had some voices that were not as positive as I could imagine upfront, but those are just voices to be ignored because they are not constructive. So what you can do. And majority of people is extremely supportive or at least curious, which is a good thing. Sometimes it's a bit lonely when like you're surrounded by a very defined environment which you do not fit in upfront. But I mean, if stuffs will change at some point, it will change because we talk about it and because we are open to like, how it looks right now.
And you mentioned the thing about it being a bit lonely. I mean, but that's also the thing is when, it's lonely at the top, right? It's not always super easy. You need to have someone to sound off. Yeah. And I can imagine, I mean, I'm very curious, what's the gender split at Woodpecker? What is the mix of male and female?
We have actually never counted it, but I would say it's something 60 to 40, probably.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah,
so it's pretty
even. It's pretty decent, right? Yeah, it's not like politics in some countries. Yeah, okay.
You should never ever take any recommendation from a person that is not even remotely close to what you consider as success. Because each of us, and it doesn't matter in terms of gender, age, whatever else is there, you'll get a ton of advices that are not the real advices. Those are just like people want to articulate things. You should not take it. You should not listen to it because it doesn't make any sense. And the only recommendations you should actually care of is either your own, so how you feel you should do with certain stuff, or people that you really feel are inspiring, are in the right place, and so on and so forth. Because, I mean, every role of leader is demanding, and it's sometimes the voice in the back of your head saying that you should do it differently or you should like change some behaviors from the past. It doesn't make sense to listen to it. You just push forward and check if that works for you.
Amazing. Brilliant. Right. We're nearly coming to the end. Time flies when you're having fun. Now we can finish up with the quick fire round questions. Are you ready for this? You try and answer them as quickly as you can, or you can give me a long answer if you really need to.
Absolutely.
All right, let's go. How would you describe your leadership style in one word?
Humane.
Brilliant. Humane. Love it. What advice would you give to someone who's really trying to climb the ladder the way that you've done it?
You need to sacrifice many things, but you need to care about yourself as well.
Coffee or tea?
Absolutely tea.
And what sets Woodpecker apart from others in the market?
We have the best deliverability on the market.
On that bombshell, Margaret, thank you very much for joining Future Fuzz. It was an absolute pleasure having you on the show. And I hope I can come visit you guys and eat some pierogi.
Good choice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in and making the choice to listen to this podcast. If you liked what you've heard today, please don't forget to subscribe.